Right now, even as you read this, part of your attention has already slipped quietly towards some other distant place. Maybe you are half remembering some earlier conversation or quietly rehearsing something you still need to handle later on today. That gentle drifting feels completely harmless, yet it silently steals more of your real life than you could ever guess. Scientists once quietly tracked thousands of ordinary people by pinging their phones at random moments across totally normal everyday days. At each ping, they answered one honest question: what are you doing, and where exactly is your mind right now? The results were quietly startling because people spent almost half of their waking hours mentally somewhere other than reality itself. Nearly 47% of the time, their thoughts had wandered far away from whatever their hands were actually doing. And here's the one detail that should stop us cold: the wandering mind was reliably the unhappier mind, too. So, for roughly half of your one single, unrepeatable life, you are not even truly present inside it at all. I spent years living in Japan, and today I want to quietly hand you 8 small habits I learned there. None of these habits cost money, none of them need an app, and none of them demand extra hours daily. Yet each one gently changes what an ordinary afternoon actually feels like from the inside, slowly and almost completely invisibly. The very first habit speaks straight to that same restless, wandering mind we were just talking about a moment ago. And the final habit honestly took me many long years to truly understand, so please stay with me until then. The first habit is called ichigo, and it was born inside the slow world of the Japanese tea ceremony. It translates loosely as one time, one meeting, and it carries a weight far heavier than those four small words. A tea master prepares each gathering as if it could never happen again, because honestly, it really never truly can. This light, these people, this drink, the exact way your heart feels today, will never gather in this combination again. The moment this idea finally reached me, I was sharing quiet tea with my grandfather on a slow autumn afternoon. Half of my mind was already lost in tomorrow, busy with worries that had not even arrived in reality yet. Then it suddenly struck me hard that I would never get that particular afternoon with him back, ever again, anywhere. Think carefully about that for just one honest second, because it quietly rearranges how you see almost every ordinary day. The small moments we rush through, a shared meal, a slow walk, a real talk, those are not mere warm-ups. They are the genuine life you are living right now, the only single one you will ever actually be given. And the people inside those moments are also quietly changing, growing older, drifting forward, becoming someone slightly new every day. The child at your table will never again be this exact age after tonight quietly slips away into soft memory. The old friend you keep meaning to call is living a whole rich life while you wait for better timing. Ichigo Ichie does not ask you to force every single ordinary moment to feel magical, special, or unusually meaningful somehow. It simply asks you to actually show up for the one ordinary moment you happen to be standing inside now. So when you feel your attention sliding off the person before you, let that be your gentle signal to return. That brings us softly toward the second habit, and the lovely thing is you already get 3 built-in daily chances. 3 times a day, every single day, life hands you a built-in opportunity to quietly practice this small thing. Before eating in Japan, we press our 2 hands together, offer a tiny bow, and softly say the word itadakimasu. People often translate it simply as "let us eat," but its real meaning sits far deeper than that casual phrase. It means something far closer to "I humbly receive," a quiet bow of thanks aimed in many directions at once. Thanks to the farmer who grew it, the gentle hands that cooked it, the living things that became this meal. Here is exactly why this small ritual matters so much inside a world that trained us to consume without pausing. We eat standing at the counter, scrolling endlessly, barely tasting, and an hour later we cannot recall a single bite. Itadakimasu is just a quiet 2-second pause before the first bite, a small doorway you step through into eating. And gratitude is far more than a pleasant, warm feeling that fades quietly a few short moments after it arrives. In one well-known study, people keeping just a simple weekly gratitude habit felt noticeably more hopeful about their lives. They reported more optimism and deeper satisfaction than the people who never paused to notice the good things around them. You do not need to say anything out loud, just one slow breath that lets you truly receive your food. That one tiny, deliberate pause quietly changes the entire experience, turning rushed fuel back into a real, grounding, human moment. The third habit happens to be one of my absolute favorites because it gently loosened my old grip on perfectionism. The word is toriaezu, and in everyday Japanese conversation, it simply means something close to the gentle phrase, "for now." When friends drop into a restaurant, someone usually says, "beer for now," meaning let's simply begin and sort out later. Now, I want to be completely honest with you about something that quietly holds so many good people back forever. We never start the things we secretly long to do because we keep waiting until we finally feel fully ready. We wait for the perfect plan, the perfect Monday, the perfect mood, the magical moment we feel completely prepared inside. And that imaginary moment can quietly swallow whole years while the dream just sits there untouched, slowly getting heavier daily. Toriaezu is the gentle cure because it quietly changes the entire question you have been asking yourself this whole time. You stop asking, "How do I finally do this perfectly?" and start asking, "What small thing can I begin now?" It hands you full permission to begin badly, clumsily, imperfectly, without waiting for skill or courage to magically show up. You do not have to write the entire book today, you simply write one messy paragraph for now and stop. You do not have to transform your whole body, you just take one short, slightly awkward walk outside for now. That dreaded email sitting in your inbox for a week, you write 2 clumsy, imperfect sentences for now and send. When the stakes shrink down to merely for now, the harsh inner critic suddenly has almost nothing left to grab. Starting is nearly always the single hardest part, and for now makes that first step small enough to finally take. The plan reliably gets better once you are actually moving, but it almost never improves while you sit and wait. Once you have finally started something, the fourth habit becomes the quiet force that gently keeps you steadily moving forward. It is a soft little word, and it even sounds a bit like the small, steady action it actually describes. Kotsukotsu, a gentle tapping sound, meaning to do something patiently in very tiny amounts, just a little bit daily. We tend to wildly overestimate what we can achieve in one heroic, caffeine-fueled, unsustainable weekend of intense, focused effort. And we badly underestimate what calm, boring, daily effort quietly stacks into across many slow months we barely even notice. Picture the person who seems to have suddenly learned a language, grown a garden, or somehow finished writing a book. Almost always, there was no sudden leap at all, only 100 small, invisible days nobody else ever even saw. One single page sounds like absolutely nothing, yet one honest page a day becomes a finished book within a year. And here is the part that quietly makes the whole thing feel far easier and kinder on your tired self. Researchers studying how habits actually form discovered it takes roughly 2 months of steady repetition before behavior starts feeling automatic. For many people, it stretched considerably longer than that, sometimes well past 66 patient, unglamorous, ordinary, repeated little days. So if a fresh habit still feels like real effort after 2 short weeks, that does not mean you failed. It simply means you are landing exactly on schedule, right where nearly everyone else has always quietly stood before you. There is no secret shortcut hiding anywhere inside that finding. There is only kotsu kotsu, patient and small and steady. 10 honest minutes of a language, one single page of a book, one quick tidy of a single messy drawer. On any given ordinary day, it feels almost too small to even count, far too tiny to ever truly matter. But small effort, quietly repeated across time, is honestly how nearly everything lasting in this whole world gets slowly built. The fifth habit gently shifts our focus from how we spend our hours toward the actual physical space we inhabit. It's called seiton, and it grew out of a famously precise Japanese system for keeping any workplace deeply orderly. Seiton simply means giving every single object you own one fixed, permanent, reliable home where it always belongs and returns. Your keys, your scissors, your charger, your reading glasses, each one quietly lives in one chosen spot and nowhere else. The role could not be simpler. One home for each object, and everything always finds its honest way back afterward. Here's the part I find quietly fascinating about something that sounds almost too boring and small to actually matter. At one university, researchers carefully listened to how a group of people naturally described their own homes in casual conversation. Those who called their spaces cluttered, chaotic, or stuffed with unfinished tasks tended to show a less healthy stress rhythm. Their daily pattern of the stress hormone behaved differently, and they reported sitting under a heavier, lower, draining background mood. Now, I want to be genuinely careful here because that is a link, not proof that mess directly causes stress. Still, it quietly matches something most of us already feel deep inside our own tired bodies at every day's end. You know, that low humming tension that fills the room when every flat surface is somehow buried under scattered stuff. A home where everything owns a clear place is a home that quietly stops draining you in countless invisible ways. Think about how many mornings begin inside a small private panic, padding your pockets, already late, frantically hunting for keys. With seiton, that frantic daily search simply disappears, because those keys only ever live in one single, faithful, predictable place. You stop losing 10 quiet minutes a day to things that were never really lost, only carelessly left homeless somewhere. And slowly, almost without noticing, the calm order inside the room becomes a kind of quiet order inside your mind. The sixth habit is the natural twin of the fifth, and together they quietly keep your whole space gently breathing. It's called soji, which simply means to clean, and the real practice behind it is cleaning as you go. Instead of letting small messes gather into one enormous, dreaded, exhausting chore, you tidy in tiny moments throughout your day. You wipe the counter while the kettle slowly boils. You rinse the single pan now instead of leaving it tonight. You hang the coat the moment you take it off instead of draping it where it sits for 3 days. The reason this quietly works is almost embarrassingly simple, and it really comes down to plain, unavoidable, everyday human math. A single cup rinsed immediately takes you maybe 10 easy seconds and asks almost nothing of your tired evening self. But 5 cups, a crusted pan, and yesterday's plates all waiting together slowly become an overwhelming wall of pure dread. And honestly, the heavy dread of facing that wall is very often far worse than the actual cleaning ever is. The mess rarely grows in one big dramatic jump. It grows quietly, one small, innocent, "I will do it later." Cleaning as you go means you almost never face that wall because you simply never let it silently build up. And your future self, walking into a calm, tidy room after a long, heavy day, is always quietly, deeply grateful. The seventh habit might honestly be the most relatable of them all, especially for anyone who loves books and ideas. And I love that the Japanese language holds such a warm, gentle, non-judgmental word for this very common thing. Sundoku is the soft art of buying lovely books and then letting them pile up, unread, beside your quiet bed. There is absolutely no shame buried inside the word itself. It simply names that hopeful, towering, slightly guilty stack lovingly. If you happen to have a leaning pile exactly like that right now, you are in genuinely wonderful company indeed. I certainly am, and I've made a quiet peace with my own ever-growing tower of patient waiting books. But Sundoku quietly points at something far larger than books alone, something most of us do without ever truly noticing. We get a small, real hit of pure satisfaction simply from acquiring a new book, a gadget, an online course. The yoga mat still sealed inside its plastic, the course never opened, all quietly promise a better version of us. And somewhere inside that little rush of buying, we quietly confuse purchasing the thing with actually doing the real thing. The purchase itself feels like genuine progress, and we always wildly overestimate how much free time our future self holds. There is always a calmer, more disciplined golden week coming soon, the one that somehow never quite seems to arrive. So this gentle habit does not ask you to stop buying anything that brings real joy into your everyday life. It only asks you to actually enjoy what you already own and love before you keep bringing even more inside. Read the patient book waiting on your nightstand. Finish the course you already paid for. Finally roll out that mat. There is a real, surprising relief in quietly closing the gap between everything we own and what we truly use. There is deep, quiet joy in letting our things be genuinely used and loved instead of merely collected and forgotten. And that finally brings us to the eighth habit, the single one that took me many long years to understand. It is a short phrase you'll hear echoing all across Japan, especially during the hardest, heaviest, most painful moments. It means, roughly translated, it simply cannot be helped. And for years, I completely misunderstood what it was truly offering. For a long time, I honestly believed this phrase was nothing more than a quiet, defeated, hopeless way of surrendering. It genuinely took me years to finally see the deep, freeing wisdom that had been hiding patiently inside it forever. Shikata ganai is meant only for the specific things you genuinely, absolutely cannot change no matter what you try. The train already running late, the cold rain falling on the one day you desperately needed warm, forgiving sunshine instead. The painful choice a grown child made entirely for themselves, the thing already finished and gone forever into the past. Notice that every single one of those situations quietly shares one important thing deeply in common with all the others. Your endless worry cannot touch any of them because each one already happened or rests entirely in someone else's hands. And when we keep fighting a fixed reality like that, replaying it, arguing, wishing it different, we deepen our pain. We quietly stack a heavy second layer of fresh suffering directly on top of the original hurt we already carry. There is the cold rain itself, and then there's the long, exhausting story we keep telling ourselves about it. Shikata ganai gently invites you to finally set down that heavy, useless, self-created second weight you never needed. Now, this is absolutely not weak, passive surrender, and that distinction is exactly the part I had backward for years. You still pour your entire heart and full effort into every single thing you genuinely can influence and actually change. You simply, finally, stop wasting that same precious energy violently against the immovable things you are never able to move. There's profound, ancient wisdom in slowly learning the quiet line between those two completely different kinds of life situations. Philosophers across many centuries quietly spent entire lifetimes wrestling with this exact same difficult, humbling, endlessly important human question themselves. And research on emotional acceptance suggests people who allow difficult feelings, instead of fighting them, reach better long-term well-being. Shikata ganai is quiet permission to gently set down the heavy weight that was honestly never yours to carry. You change everything you possibly can, and then you let the unchangeable rest of it move calmly through you instead. So those are the 8 quiet habits I carried with me out of Japan and into my own ordinary life. Being truly present for the moment in front of you and humbly receiving your food before you rush to consume. Starting imperfectly for now, moving forward little by little, and giving every single thing you own its own faithful home. Cleaning gently as you go, deeply enjoying whatever you already have, and finally releasing the heavy things you cannot change. You honestly do not need to grab all 8 at once. That would only overwhelm you and quietly backfire badly. Simply choose the single one that landed most softly inside your chest today and gently try just that one tomorrow. Because here is the quiet truth underneath every habit we have slowly walked through together over these last few minutes. This exact moment, the one you are breathing through right now, will honestly never gather in quite this way again.